He awoke suddenly and sat up in his bed, chest heaving in the dark. Something was wrong, and whatever it was scared him. A chilling shiver took his body. It was a combination of covering sweat and the open window letting in the blowing wintry night wind. The uniform that Piccolo gave him did little to fend off the cold. The moon was high and full and beaming down its pale light. Had he left the window open or closed? Strangely, he tried to focus on that question even as he replayed the horrific events of his dream. His father, smiling at him as he sacrificed himself to the other world to save the Earth. That monster, despite being blown to bits in another dimension, returning at full power, able to destroy them all in the blink of an eye, and the weight that came with being the only one who could do something about it. His new power. His awesome new power, a strength that had managed to even elude Goku. That name hurt like a fist through his chest. Goku. His father. Dead now because of him. No, not because of Cell, but because of he himself. Because of Gohan. If only would have used his full power from the start instead of showing off to Vegeta and the others. Why did he have to showboat? Why did he have to try and put fear in whatever passed for a heart in Cell's body? Tears began to well up in Gohan's eyes as he hugged his knees to his chest. His dad was dead because of him. A howling wind came whipping through the window, blowing his curtains like a pair of wildly flapping bat's wings. Gohan turned and sat on the edge of his bed. He almost wanted to chuckle at the fact that his feet still dangled above the floor. He was still a kid despite spending a year in that freaky room of time and space. He was still a boy. But was he really a boy? Boys played with other boys. Boys skipped school. Boys had girlfriends. Gohan had a green alien and a dead father. No, Gohan wasn't a boy. He hopped off his bed and took a step toward the window, and it was when his foot set down that he first felt it. Power. Strong, very strong, and somehow familiar. Could this be what had awoken him? Gohan cast a look around his room. It was dark, but the moon gave him enough light to see by, and as far as he could tell, he was alone. Imagination. He took another step to his window, then another. But it was on the third that he felt it again and turned around fast. Fast and smiling. "Trunks?" he said, eagerness ripping its way through his sleep-slurred voice. Trunks was the Super Saiyan time traveler from the future, a friend, one he thought he'd never see again. There was a flicker of barely visible motion in the darkest corner of Gohan's room, and then suddenly Trunks was there. Gohan. It was Trunks' voice alright, but there was something wrong, something off about it, as if he were... Gohan couldn't quite place it, it was just off. "Trunks?" Gohan said, again taking a few steps toward the darkest part of his room, toward his friend. As he took those steps, his eyes adjusted, and he took in Trunks and froze. This wasn't the Trunks that Gohan knew. This was someone different. His hair, the color was wrong. His jacket, it was similar to the one that Gohan had first seen Trunks in, but it was wrong. He wore a ragged red scarf around his neck. In his hand, he held his sword, but that too was wrong. It was broken. The blade, a jagged-edged parody, near the crossbar. "Trunks," Gohan tried again. "What's going on? What's wrong?" He wanted to ask this guy who he was, but the face hadn't changed. This was Trunks. "Gohan," Trunks said again, a grumble this time, but there was a hint of sarcasm. Gohan swallowed. "Trunks, what's going on? Tell me, why are you here?" Trunks chuckled. "She's dead, you know. I did it so you would get angry." Gohan's heart instantly dropped. He wasn't sure if it was because of his new power, or because it was what Trunks might have been thinking, but Gohan knew without a doubt that his mother was dead and Trunks was the one who did it. "No," Gohan said with a shaky voice. "Trunks, no. Why?" "Like I said," said Trunks, "so you would get angry." And with that, the entire room suddenly lit up with golden fire. An explosion of power erupted from Trunks' body, and there was the familiar feel of Saiyan Ascension. Trunks' hair raised and morphed, fading from that weird blue to Super Saiyan yellow, but this was different. The angles that his hair stood at, the scarce blue glow shining from within the yellow Saiyan aura surrounding Trunks' body. Gohan gasped. What had Trunks just become? This wasn't Super Saiyan 2, this was something else, something greater? Gohan could feel the indignation, the hatred, the seething malice emanating from Trunks in waves as it exploded. The power, the sheer force of it tore roof and walls away from Gohan's room and sent Gohan himself flying until he could control himself by generating a sphere of protection around his body. Down below in his room, the glowing Super Saiyan looked up at Gohan with a frightening grin, his eyes aglow with white light so bright that there was no longer any trace of iris or pupil. In his hand, the sword, the broken blade, was erecting with the light energy of the likes that Gohan had ever seen before. It formed a literal glowing blade of power, and in the moment of its completion, Trunks vanished from sight. If not for the ability to sense power levels, Gohan would have been completely caught by surprise. But even knowing that Trunks was already above him did Gohan little good. Trunks was too fast. The only defense that Gohan could muster was his weakling shield that was already in place, but that was shattered by Trunks' light blade, and the force of the blow sent Gohan crashing to the ground. He wasn't hurt, just a bit dazed. On his hands and knees, Gohan quickly shook it off. He knew two things. This was not Trunks, and talking to whoever this was, pretending to be Trunks, was an automatic fail. But the question lingered like a bright light on the edge of foggy darkness in his brain. Who or what was this? Was it an android made to look like Trunks? But that couldn't be it. Androids had no power that could be sensed, so what was this? Gohan had no other conclusion to which to draw from other than that this was Trunks, and that he was going to kill him. Gohan had to defend himself, but could he? This new transformation out of this Trunks was incredible, but Gohan had incredible power of himself. He had to try. Gohan pounded his fist to the destroyed floor of his bedroom and summoned his power, but before he could transform, Trunks was directly in front of him, and faster than an eye blink, his boot connected squarely with the bridge of Gohan's nose. White-hot pain blasted, rocketed its way through Gohan's skull, and the intensity of the kick shot Gohan backwards like a bullet speeding from a gun. It sent his small frame shooting a foot above the ground, outside of his house's frame and on the outside lawn where his body dug a trench into the earth. Even before Gohan came to a complete stop, Trunks was again upon him, sword raised above Gohan's head, angled down in both of Trunks' hands, the tip stabbing down at Gohan's heart. "No!" Gohan shouted, and a gigantic power exploded like a star going nova around his body, and Trunks was whiplashed backwards on the shockwave. Ascension overcame Gohan, and the power, his Saiyan heritage, coiled around him like a burning, snaking wraith of pure energy. Gohan's eyes faded from black to turquoise. His hair, the black tangled mess, became erect golden spears, save for the one lock that hung down the side of his face. At the precise second that the light finished enveloping all of Gohan's being, there was another explosion, greater than the last, and the earth was horribly incinerated from around him, leaving a city block-sized crater below Gohan's bare hovering feet. Super Saiyajin 2. Golden energy burned in ever upward rippling waves around Gohan as crackling cerulean bolts of charged anger flashed. Looking straight ahead, eyebrows at a severe angry slant, Gohan clearly saw Trunks in his mind's eye. 10 feet above him, now 30 feet behind, 12 feet to his left, 8 to his right, directly in front of him, fading to his back, gearing up for his attack. Gohan faded from sight and appeared 40 feet above from where he had just hovered and yanked Trunks by the wrist just as he appeared. The glowing energy that had just started to gather in Trunks' palm was dispelled, and Trunks looked at Gohan with wide, terrorized eyes of surprise. How? Trunks croaked. "I don't know who you are," Gohan said with venom dripping from every syllable. "But this is over!" And quickly, he placed the palm of his free hand directly in Trunks' face. Wriggling like a frightened animal to get away, Trunks screamed but was unable to break free of Gohan's iron-solid grip. And the blast of power the size of an aircraft carrier rocketed out of Gohan's hand and quickly swallowed Trunks whole. At the sound of Trunks' screams, Gohan released him in the wave of energy. As the light from the attack faded, Trunks' body fell to the ground, lifeless, charred and smoking, the rest of what remained of his jacket shedding. "Stronger than I imagined, and exactly what I hoped," came a familiar voice from somewhere below. The sound of it made Gohan's heart jump. He instantly looked down to zero in on where it came from, to where his father stood, but what he laid eyes on was not his daddy. Alright, I just want to say thank you so very much for listening to this little short story I put together. If you did enjoy this type of video, do me a favor, leave a thumbs up. And I know there probably could be more to this story, but I kind of want to leave it there, and I would love to read the conclusions that you guys draw in the comments. Just, type whatever you want down there. Shout out to OPX Tech and Killer Kai. You guys are amazing. See you next time, guys.
I'm the flyest nigga in